Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 5:26 a.m. East Coast time, Thursday, August 1st. Welcome to the new month, almost Friday for all you weekend warriors. We're going to cover this 6-game MLB slate. There's a 4-game early slate. Not going to be doing any video content for that, but the 6-game night slate, the main slate, 50K prize pools. I believe there might be a 100K prize pool. I'm not positive, actually. We could look at that right now. But yeah, 50K prize pools, I know that's for a fact. I believe another $15 for that, and then other big prize pools. So 6-game slate. Pitching is one of the more interesting slates that we've had. I think there's some upside here, and we'll get into it. I have 4 interests labeled right now as of 5:25 in the morning. So 14 hours before lock, 13.5 hours before lock. But I'm excited to get into it. Before we do, welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Sal Betcher. I cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL, NBA, MLB, as you're seeing right here, and WNBA. There will be a WNBA video up today. There's already my NFL Showdown video up for the Hall of Fame game. Some people reached out saying I didn't list anything about the kickers or defense for that Showdown slate. They're fine plays. They're always fine plays in any type of Showdown format, especially when the total is like 34. So that's my bad. Should have listed that. But you can check out those videos as well. So welcome if you're new. Hit the like button if you're returning. If you're new and you do get some sort of value from this, or you're somebody who's returning and has seen me a couple times, if you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, it does help me out a good amount. So I do appreciate that. And then before we get into it, you can see my headers. My headers changed a little bit. There's an Mlb Dfs course that you can sign up for, link down below. You can just sign up to get an email opt-in, and all that's going to do is let you know when the course is done, and it'll give you just a reminder about that. It's not going to give you any spam. Don't worry, I control everything that comes out of it. But yeah, there is a course I'm working on, most likely going to be done by Sunday. But if there's any other reasons, again, you'll get the updates when it does come out. It's an NFL course. It'll probably be 12 lessons or so. It shows you how I make my stat sheets like this. It's going to show you how I make and utilize a bankroll management system in Excel. And it's going to talk about a bunch of different things, ownership, all that. So there is going to be a price on it. Don't worry. It's not going to be ridiculous. And it's going to be linked down below. It's something I've been working on for a little while now, and it should be done by the end of the week. So excited. Let's get into it. All the housekeeping is out of the way. So this slate is very interesting because there's a lot of high-powered offenses on the slate. Right? You have Houston, you have the Dodgers. You say what you want about Atlanta, but you have Venom, you have Cleveland, who might not seem like a high-powered offense, but since the start of June, they're only second behind Atlanta in ISO on this slate, and they are only second behind Houston in terms of striking out the least on this slate against their opponent's handedness. So let's start it off. Let's go through. There's a couple of pieces that I think are going to be very interesting, a couple of pieces where I think we might be able to get some leverage. Starting it out with Gerrit Cole on the top. Look, he's not somebody that I'm dying to play. And there's one reason why I'm going to Gerrit Cole today. It's because everybody else on this slate does not possess anywhere near the upside that he does. He has a 37.4% overall K rate, 40.7% against lefties, where Cleveland's lineup is very much built on lefty power, with Jason Kipnis hitting another home run yesterday, Jake Bauers playing well yesterday, Nyquin, who is also a lefty. Those 3 guys are true lefties. Then you have Carlos Santana, Mckay, Francisco Lindor. All those 3 guys that I just listed are switch hitters who Santana prefers batting lefty. So you're going to get 4 to 5 lefties in this lineup that he's striking to 40.7% of out. That's crazy. It's not like there's any easiness for the righties. He's striking out 34.1% of righties. So the guy overall is just dominant, over 7%. About a 7% K percentage higher than anybody else on the slate. And the downsides are clearly that he's facing Cleveland, who since the start of June has been fantastic. Over a 225 ISO, and they only strike out about 20% of the time. So this is a team that has a ton of power, and they're putting the ball in play against a pitcher who will give up home runs. He does give up a 181 ISO to lefties, which is the only downside. He strikes them out a lot, but he also gives up power to them, which this Cleveland's lineup is built on. So it's sort of who's going to be the more dominant force here. Is it going to be these Cleveland bats who are continuing to make contact this summer, or is it going to be Gerrit Cole who continues to get players to swing and miss, or is it somewhere in between? I'm not sure. He's priced up to 11,300, which is probably a fair price point for his stuff. He goes 6.23 innings pitched per start, second only behind Clayton Kershaw. So he's going about 6 1/3 innings pitched per start. He has the best Sierra by a mile, 2.88, and honestly by a mile, 0.8 higher than the next closest, which is Asher Wojciechowski. But yeah, Gerrit Cole is my first interest, mainly because of the difference between him and everybody else in this field. And he's sort of priced like it, right? You have him and Kershaw. They're only $600 apart. But then the difference between Kershaw or Cole and the third best guy is it's crazy that it's $2,700 and it just drops off after that. So you'll be able to afford most pitching options today. I'm going to be interested in seeing where Gerrit Cole's ownership comes in. Many people have asked me, or not many, but a couple of people have asked me about ownership, where I get these ownership projections or whatever. What do I mean by it? Ownership is just how many people play that player in a tournament, and you can't tell until after the game starts. You can download the projection or the ownership sheets, but you can't actually tell. The way to get good projections is to go and buy them from a website, honestly. The best ones that I've ever seen is Osmo. I don't use projections day in and day out. I can kind of sense this stuff, especially on smaller slates. You can sense where leverage is going to go. You can kind of just sense from some free articles that are out there that'll talk about ownership, not as well though. But Osmo has the best ownership projections in my opinion. And the best optimizer in my opinion is Fantasy Cruncher. I'm not affiliated with either of those companies. So yeah, Gerrit Cole, first guy in for me. I think the matchup is extremely scary, and it's not something that you have to get to. But on a slate where if Gerrit Cole at $11,300 gets you 24 fantasy points, he gets the win in there, that's probably enough. If he gets you 22, that potentially could be enough on a slate like this. Clayton Kershaw at $10,700. I do think Clayton Kershaw is a good pitcher still. He does, though, have a lot of tendencies that I don't like, especially when he's priced at $10,700, $600 less than Cole. And his matchup isn't that much better, especially for him. So he's a lefty, and San Diego strikes out 2% less against lefties than they do righties, 23.6% against lefties, and a little over 25% against righties. And they have a power rating a little bit higher than against right-handed pitching. They have a 189 ISO, 186 ISO as a team overall. Now, Clayton Kershaw is not going to come out here and dominate anybody. He has the, against righties, which is going to be a good amount in this lineup, power bats, 25.8% strikeout rate, 24.7% strikeout rate overall. I mean, that's the 5th best on the slate, and he's priced as the 2nd highest pitcher. So that's not great. You're not getting upside there. He does have the 3rd best Sierra on the slate, which isn't saying much based on the fact that everybody else on the slate is terrible, and he does give up 41.3% hard hit percentage. So I'm not looking at Clayton Kershaw just because of his price point. I do think there's an opportunity for him to go 6-7 innings into this game. He's a 205 favorite, pick up the win. But as of right now, I'm not looking there for upside because I'd rather, if I'm debating on Kershaw, I'd rather just fade the 10K range all the way. Like if I'm already off Gerrit Cole because of the matchup, I'd rather fade the 10K range overall and just pitch naturally than 2 cheaper pitchers. I mean, the 3rd most expensive pitcher, Jack Flaherty, is $8,600. I'd rather just go and pitch 2 different pitchers and spend all the money on my bats. I don't feel comfortable going to Kershaw when he only has less than a 25% K rate at this price point, and he is getting hit hard. He has virtually the highest hard hit percentage on the slate with Anthony Descalfano. Descalfano is 41.8, Kershaw is 41.3. And then you have an opponent that's striking out below average against left-handed hitters and has an above average ISO. So it's just a lot of things that I don't like. If Kershaw's strikeout rate was 30%, okay, it changes things because there's potentially 2 more strikeouts in that lineup for him tonight. But as of right now, that's not the case. It's on 24%. So I'm not going to be getting there. I don't imagine so. The next guy I have interest in outside of Cole is Jon Lester. Lester gets his watered down St. Louis lineup, and I have to check in. I check in every single day to see if either any of these guys are coming back. Ozuna anytime soon. Molina, I believe Molina's coming back soon. Maybe I'm wrong. Or Carpenter. I do not believe that any of them are coming back, and I guess we can do this quickly. Let's look. Let's take a quick look because now this is going to be on my mind. Ozuna's still in the IL. Okay. Wait, is he? Let's see. Yeah, he's still in the IL since June. Look at all these guys that are injured. Wow, now they just will continue his rehab start. That was as of yesterday, so he's not coming back. Joroko's out now as well. I mean, he was never anything major for this team. Or he was traded, right? Yeah, I saw he got traded. And then, where's Molina? Is Molina back? Here's Molina. Had his thumb re-imaged on Monday. So yeah, he's not coming back. So these guys are all still out. So this is the watered down St. Louis lineup for Jon Lester. Jon Lester, a guy whose strikeout stuff has disappeared, but he's not $10,700 like Kershaw is. Kershaw does have higher strikeout stuff, but Jon Lester's $8,200 against a team that is second to last in the league in overall power since the start of June. And they also do strike out about even against lefties, as Jon Lester is a lefty. The thing that I like about Lester is, sure, he's not going to strike out a ton of batters, a 21.6% strikeout rate, but that's fine. It's built into the price a little bit. I do like the fact that he doesn't walk a lot of guys, and he has a 5.7 innings pitched per start in an average matchup. In this matchup, I imagine he would be able to go 6 innings on average, if not more, and he's $8,200. So what are you looking for here? Well, he's a small underdog today, going up against Flaherty on the other side. But I do like the fact that he's $8,200. He works deep into the games, and he can, and especially as of late over the summer, he has been limiting damage in both walks and home runs. On the year, early on, he was getting hit with some home runs, but if you look at Jon Lester's schedule, his first 2 months of the season were, I mean, they were just ridiculous in terms of the teams that he was having to play. Atlanta, the Dodgers, just Houston, all these teams I imagine were in there. His schedule has just been rocky until the last 3 or 4 starts, and now he gets maybe his easiest matchup of the year. 8,200 would be my second interest. My third interest, I'm not getting to Danny Salazar and his return start from the 60-day DL, especially against Houston. Not getting to Joey Lucchesi, although I like Lucchesi. Not getting to him against the Dodgers. Not getting to Descalfani against Atlanta. Those are probably the 3 best offenses: Houston, the Dodgers, and Atlanta on the slate. And I'm not targeting middle range to bad pitchers against them. I am, however, targeting Asher Wojciechowski at 7,100. This guy's been good. He's pitched now in 6 or 7 starts, and he's been actually really good. He's striking out 41% of righties. That's obviously going to come down, but again, strikeout rate stabilizes quickly in the MLB, but that is definitely coming down 41%. I mean, that's Gerrit Cole type numbers against lefties, if not a little bit better. Giving up a lot of power to lefties, again, a small sample in 6 games. I mean, imagine the amount of lefties he's faced is like 15% of what he's faced against righties. And then righties, he's only giving up 135 ISO. So pretty much what that means is, from his lefty side, if it's a smaller sample and he gave up 2 home runs to lefties, it's going to stand out a lot more, or 2 home runs and a couple doubles, it's going to stand out a lot more, since there's not as many plate appearances to kind of bog down that ISO. So I'm not too concerned with that. But yeah, now you get Toronto, who I believe is one of the better teams in the league in terms of offense for fantasy. When they're facing right-handed opponents and they strike out below average, they have an above-average ISO, almost approaching a 200 ISO. So this matchup is a little bit scarier than it might seem, but he has the second best Sierra on the slate. This guy's only 7,100, and on a slate where you're lacking any sort of real value below $8,000, right? You just talked about Salazar, Lucchesi, Anthony Descalfani. We're not getting to those. You have Trent Thornton coming back from an injury at 6,800, a guy who doesn't really go deep into the games. You're lucky if he gets to the 5th inning. And we've had Wojciechowski go now into the 5th inning or more in 3 straight starts, including the last 2 starts. He's gone 7 innings. You have Brandon Mckay, who I love Brandon Mckay as well, but he's facing Boston today, and his strikeout rate has not really stabilized as much through the majors, especially against lefties. A 6.7% strikeout rate against lefties. But the main thing there is he's facing Boston today, and I really don't want to attack that. Right, and then you're in the 5K range, we'll talk about in a second. So in terms of from the below Jon Lester to the 5K range, yeah, it's just Asher Wojciechowski for me, and it's pretty obvious. At least I think the matchup is still a little bit more difficult than many seem, but I think it's the best of the worst maybe, and I think he actually has upside. Again, he's gone into the 7th inning in each of his past 2 starts, 5 or more innings in his last 3 starts, and he is striking out a lot of batters, especially righties. This Toronto lineup is built on righties, built on righty power. Whether it's Gritchett, whether it's Justin Smoke, whether it's Gurriel, all these guys, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Cavan Biggio, all these guys are built on power. I believe Cavan might be a switch hitter, but Eric Sogard was one of the lefties. He's now out of there. He's no longer in Toronto, so that's going to benefit Asher. So yeah, give me Asher as my 3rd interest. My 4th interest, like I said, we're jumping down to the 5K range. Max Fried. Max Fried's too cheap. He's had his struggles this year, but he's the best ground ball pitcher on the slate. And when you're this cheap and you're a 160 favorite, I'm going to have interest in you. Like I said, 53.6% ground ball rate. That's over 2 percentage points higher than the next best on the slate, which is Clayton Kershaw. He has a 21.9% fly ball rate. That's 9 percentage points best than the next closest on the slate, which is Clayton Kershaw, 30%. So yeah, I like Max Fried today because of the fact that he does limit damage. His strikeout stuff is not great, but it's also not terrible for 5,800. He's got 25.2% against lefties. He'll face about 2 lefties, maybe 3 today. 22.3% against righties. Look, I get it, 22.3% isn't great, but for 5,800, you'll take that against righties. And then the fact that he gives up no power to lefties, some power to righties, but again, his price kind of limits the fact that he can give up a home run or 2. At 5,800, if he goes 5 innings and gives up 2 or 3 runs and gets you 14 fantasy points with the win, that's a slam dunk. If he gets you 10 fantasy points with the loss, that's absolutely fine still at 5,800. There's just so much less risk at this guy with 5,800, and the fact that he does limit damage, 1.24 home runs per 9, but really the 53.6% ground ball rate, the 21.9% fly ball rate is what's standing out to me, and the fact that he's a decent sized favorite. He's also a lefty, and since the start of June, Cincinnati is striking out around 23%. It's come up a little bit over the last week or so against lefties, so that's something if you want to highlight the matchup. They're striking out around average against lefties, and they have around an average ISO for this slate around 180, a little bit higher than the overall season average. So yeah, I think Max Fried's a great play. If you want me to go to Andrew Cashner, I'm just not going to. When you have Max Fried for $400 more, I'm not going to go down to Cashner, a guy who is, in my opinion, much worse. I mean, he has a 17% K rate compared to Max Fried's 23.8% overall K rate. He gets to face Tampa, who he gives up a 220 ISO to their righties. I get it. A lot of the lefties is what you're worried about in Tampa. and he doesn't give up much power to them, but there are also some powerful righties in the lineup. Tampa only strikes out, again, around average against right-handed pitching, and we don't have much strikeout stuff from Andrew Cashner. Cashner grades out very similar, aside from the fact that he's a 4.95 SIERA. So what that tells me is he's getting luckier than his 4.18 ERA is saying. Whereas Max Fried has a 4.21 ERA and a 4.04 SIERA, which tells me he's getting unlucky. So I'd rather pitch the guy who's been getting unlucky, who is less susceptible to giving up power, has a better strikeout rate and a slightly better matchup than the guy who is a higher SIERA, has a higher SIERA, identical walk percentages, identical home runs per 9, lower ground ball rate, higher fly ball rate, lower strikeout rate by over 6%, almost 7%. And then has a more difficult matchup, in my opinion, against Tampa Bay instead of against Cincinnati. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. The only downside for Max Fried might be that he's pitching in Atlanta, which is going to play very, very hitter friendly, especially during the summer. But yeah, it's a small slate. It's a 6-game slate. I love these 6-game slates. Again, my interests at pitcher are Gerrit Cole, Jon Lester, Asher Wojciechowski, and Max Fried. It's the beginning of the month, so now's the perfect time to hop into the Patreon, start the month off right. I do articles. I'll do an article for the 6-game slate. I rank my main pitching priorities. I rank some one-offs that are in favorable spots, basically in terms of being able to hit a home run or get you 12 plus fantasy points, 10 plus fantasy points. And then I rank my stacks, my hitting stacks, which teams that I'm going to be looking at. Is it a 5-man stack? Some analysis sometimes in the stacks, mainly on the pitching. But yeah, it's the start of the month, so you can get that link down below. That's where my articles are. You can also get linked down below. You can sign up for that course right now for the NFL DFS course. It's free to sign up. All it does is tell me that you're interested in the course when the time comes out. Doesn't mean that you have to buy it. Just says that you're interested. Sal, shoot me an email when it's done, and I'll look into it. That's all you got to do. You can follow me on Twitter for updates at SalVetri Post updates about the course on there. Post updates in general about DFS. Check out the NFL video. Let me know what you think about that for the preseason. It's really hard to find preseason Hall of Fame game information, but trying my best at it as much as I could while I did the video yesterday morning. There's probably more out today, but yeah, that's where we're at right now. Hopefully this video helps. Hit the subscribe button if you are not already. I urge you, join the community. It helps me out a ton. Peace out, gang.